Deputy Councillor Murphy.
Thank you. For months now, Minister, you've been telling people to reduce their energy use. In fact, you previously told people to be clever with their energy use. You said that people should use their own smarts to cut down on energy use and save money. And Minister, people have been doing that. All over the country, people are desperately trying to dramatically reduce the energy that they use. They're doing that because they can no longer afford to pay soaring bills. In fact, increasingly, people I speak to are telling me they're afraid to turn on the gas or the electric. They're afraid of the size of the bill that they'll receive, and they're afraid of how high those bills will go over the winter. So people are being clever and they're being conscientious. But Minister, can you explain how people can use their smarts to reduce the punitive standing charges that are now being imposed by energy companies? Standing charges that have no relation to the amount of energy that they use. You could live in darkness for the next 12 months and it would make no difference to the charge that you would pay. And those charges are rocketing. An article in the Irish Independent this week outlined the extent of the increase of the standing charges. Some suppliers are now charging up to €700 a year when you combine gas and electricity. In fact, customers with prepay meters, who are usually the most vulnerable, are paying up to €900 a year. Now that's gouging, and there's no other word for it. A standing charge was introduced, as you know, Minister, as a means to reflect the fixed cost associated with providing households with gas and electricity. It has nothing to do with the unit cost of energy. There is no relation, there's no reason why it should be increasing at the same level at the same level that is similar to energy costs. I heard you on the news at 1 about this earlier in the week, and what you did was you blamed the war in Ukraine and you blamed Putin. Minister, we all know Russia is responsible for the global energy crisis, but some companies are using that as a pretext to jack up their prices. Representatives from the Commission on Energy Regulation were before the Climate Committee yesterday, and they said they were powerless to impose limits on the level of the standing charge. They said it was a matter for this House to legislate. The Consumer Association of Ireland has also called on the Government to act. It wants you to empower the regulator to have a role in setting equitable standing charges that actually reflect the fixed infrastructural costs it's supposed to. So, Minister, if you really want to see people rewarded for cutting their energy use, will you actually do something about the exorbitant standing charges?
Thank you.
Now, I don't want to hear you devote the response to the geopolitical problem. So when you tell us what your government is going to do and when it's going to do it.
Mr. Ryan, please.
First message we have to give to our people: yes, we have to be smart and clever, but we also have to stay warm and comfortable through the winter and protect everyone's health. No one should be taking any message where they're actually restricting that comfort and that basic health. The Commissioner for the Regulation of Utilities was in the Oireachtas Committee yesterday, addressing questions around this and other issues. But I think it's important in that giving confidence to our people, that particularly those most vulnerable, that they will not be left in a situation where they do not have those basic comforts. There will be a moratorium on disconnection for vulnerable customers. It's been extended from the 1st of October to the 31st of March. That moratorium is for all domestic customers. It now extends to the end of February. There will be extended debt repayments period. From the 1st of November, debt repayments plans will be extended, giving households a minimum of 24 months to repay debt. There will be reduced debt burden pay-as-you-go top-ups. So, new measures mean that debt repayment levels will be reduced to 10%, it was previously 25%, on pay-as-you-go customers' top-up payments. So, for example, on a €20 top-up, only €2 will go towards the debt repayment instead of 5. And two final points. There will be better value for those in financial hardship meters. All customers with a financial hardship meter will be put on the cheapest tariff from their supplier from the 1st of December. And we also need to promote the Vulnerable Customers Register. so that electricity suppliers must actively promote the vulnerable customer register. I could go on, there are other measures. The scheme we've introduced, we started earlier, it's taken us time to deliver, but we will deliver this month, that those really at most highest risk, maybe dependent on medical equipment, we will be going in to provide specific measures in those identified houses. So all that is important to signal we give to our customers, that you don't turn off the heat, you don't turn off the lights. OK, we all manage it carefully, but we do not want to see anyone go cold or lonely or at a loss. Can I say, the issue then of standing charges, as the crew said yesterday, it is not something that they have a regulatory control over. Now, we have to do a review, earlier debate in terms of what we're doing in the European Union. There is a wider approach where we are looking at the whole market systems and regulatory system. You cannot do that quickly and easily. You cannot completely change an entire energy market in a week or two. It does take time to work out what is the best regulatory system. We can and will look at this issue in terms of what our regulatory structure is, what the market structures are. But first things first, we've got to get through a tough winter, and we've got to stand up to Mr. Putin in doing that. I believe these measures to protect the most vulnerable is actually probably the first and most important thing. Yes, we then have our reduced use campaign, social welfare payments, protections for businesses and credits for customers. It's that combination that we're going to apply. And I believe the approach we're taking in that regard is the right one.
Thank you very much. Deputy Murphy.
Be focused on one issue, and one issue that you could do something about now by extending the powers the Commission on Energy Regulation in relation to standing charges, where gouging is happening, where they could set an upper threshold that reflects the actual cost of providing the infrastructure. Now, it doesn't relate to the unit cost of energy. Why is it increasing to the extent it is? We have something like 217,000 electricity customers in arrears. 700 have been disconnected in the first 6 months of this year. 148,000 gas customers are in arrears already. Looking at some of the most exposed people on meters. As you use meters, up to €900 in standing charges. Minister, this is absolutely mad. This has nothing to do with the price of energy and how that has to be dealt with at European level. Please deal with this one issue that would make an immediate difference, and this could be done quickly.
Which is your concern, to going to the energy industry. But that is the real concern that the public have, is that they're not paying beyond the odds. They're not paying too much. And the best way of addressing that, be it in a fossil fuel company where we will look to get a contribution from them to feed back to the Irish public, or from the electricity side, that we do the same. The best way of doing that is through these mechanisms I mentioned earlier, the effective windfall taxes that we have within the European Union mechanism. With regard to changing as immediate, as if it was so easy that a click of a switch we can address and solve all these problems by just a stroke of a regulatory pen where the regulator has a different position, that I believe would not necessarily address the current problem or crisis.
Thank you, Minister.
We're seeing a number of energy companies actually exiting the market rather than entering it. There are such complexities in this that it is not, as I said earlier, as I said in the Dáil debate last night, the idea that you can completely reform and change a market like this in an instant is not true.
We move